I'm Holly Henn. I'm the president and CEO of Critical Business Analysis. I come from the general contracting field where I've worked most of my life as a project manager. And I'm here today with Curtis to talk about software scheduling training. Curtis, would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Curtis Calloway. I also work for CBA. I'm a senior trainer and consultant. I have been doing this for 27 years. Cut my teeth on some of the original Primavera products, P3, SureTrack. Have been working with P6 since it came out way back in 2000.
Today we're going to talk about scheduling software training. Whether you want to hire a company to come in and teach your people or you want to develop your own. Curtis is the best person to have this conversation with because of the years of experience that he has in the industry teaching, setting up curriculum, and implementing for the clients that we work with. Some of the things that we want to start out with is, what is software training?
Absolutely. So, at the end of the day, a scheduling software, project management software is something that's going to help you build and manage your project. And that can include the scheduled dates of when things are going to happen, cost, and resources. All three of those are part of a project, whether you track that in your software or not. And the biggest benefit of using a software like P6 or OPC is that not only are you tracking the dates, but when, not if, but when changes happen, you'll see those changes immediately.
What do you think is the most critical aspect for rolling out a successful training program for the companies that you've worked with? What have you seen companies that we've worked with do to support your coming to their facility and training their employees to make sure that that was successful use of their time?
Absolutely. So two things. First, baby steps. That's because all the Primavera products, and really any good project management software, is huge. It has a ton of functionality. And if we throw everything at a group of new students, it's going to be overwhelming and they're not going to get anything out of it. So I always suggest that we roll it out in a phased approach, get the main thing that they need up front, and then we move on as they start becoming more experienced with the software with the additional features. And then the second step that we take when we roll this out to a company and help them is understand what their pain point is. What are the needs? Why are you even using the software? Is it because the owner's requiring it? Are you having problems with X, Y, or Z? Let's customize that class to make sure that we're hitting those pain points so that you now get the first pass of what the software can do for you and you're immediately able to take advantage of that.
You just brought up a really good point, is why are they coming to us for training, right?
Yep.
The training that we offer is niche. It's P6 or it's MSP. And just because you're a contractor or an owner out there using that software doesn't necessarily mean that you need training, but what are some of the reasons that people do come to us to facilitate training?
Yeah, and I'll repeat, but I think you nailed it. It's, to me, the big three, the owners required it. The owner has told us we have to use this Primavera product, and now we need to learn how to use it. Oftentimes, that leads into, oh my gosh, this is a great software, now we're going to be able to get the benefit of it. The biggest, though, is probably we are having a pain point around X. And X is oftentimes, we don't have enough people to get the job done. And we're not seeing that until that activity, that task is about to start. With the scheduling software, you can use that to see months in advance that we're going to have a bottleneck. We only have one Holly. She needs to be on 3 jobs at the same time. That's not going to work. And we can see that days, weeks, months in advance. So there's some pain point. Oftentimes it's resources. Sometimes it's cost loading. And sometimes it's just we're not getting the dates out to the subs of when they should be doing that work. And when X changes, we don't see that. I know it changed, but if I'm tracking it in Excel or a whiteboard with yellow sticky notes, none of that's changing automatically. With the scheduling software like Primavera, within seconds of getting that email about X being changed, we're going to see how that impacts everything else.
Something that I hear a lot from well-established firms is, why should I train my people when they're not using it every day or they're not going to use it right away, right? Why should I train that newer project engineer when they're not going to use P6 for 6 months or a year? And I have a response to that, but I would like to hear yours.
So you're going to hate my response, but I don't. The worst thing, and I tell everybody this, the worst thing you can do is sit through one of my training classes and not use the software for 6 months or a year. And like with anything else, if you don't use it on a semi-regular basis, at least, it's going to be right out the door. We've had that. I've got ongoing clients that I'm constantly doing training classes for them that every blue moon, someone will have to resit through the class because they took the class, fantastic student, knew the software, and didn't touch it for 6 months.
This is a great opportunity to have a discussion about this because, yes, P6 is a large, robust software to use and to remember all of the pieces and parts if you don't touch it for another 6 months to a year is challenging. The benefit that I find from training, especially your younger people, is that they have sat through a 3-day class that is all about scheduling and they have learned schedule language. They at least have a basic understanding of what that program can do. They may not be able to remember how to do it, but they will leave that class knowing the potential that lives within that program. And one day when they do need to go use it, maybe they do need a refresher course. And that's where CBA can come in and do, a 1-to-1 training or a condensed 2-day training for a group of people who maybe sat through our 3-day class previously.
Absolutely.
But I find that larger contractors that have a robust scheduling team or culture tend to shy away from sending people to training when they think they're not going to use it right away. It's a decision to make. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, if you don't have any other training available for those younger people coming in the door, then they don't understand how to speak to a scheduler either. And they don't understand what that program's capable of doing or the information that they could track without sitting through one of our classes.
Exposure. I like that. Just at the very least, they've been exposed to what the software can do. They know what, even if they aren't using it, they know what to ask for. Now I know you can give me that report. So yeah, I like that.
Right. Yeah. And especially with especially with companies that use outside scheduling firms. If you don't know how to talk to your scheduler to get what you need from them, if you don't even understand how the program works, then you don't even know what to ask for.
Right.
So that's also a really good reason why to send people to software scheduling training.
Why is project management just software training critical to your success? Your team has to be trained on how to use the software, of course. Our training is as much about that, but it's also about demystification. And what I mean by that is P6, OPC, any scheduling software can be very daunting, very overwhelming, very complicated, lots of buttons, lots of functionality. Our job in our training class is not just to show you how to actually use the software, but how your company's going to use the software and how to get the most out of it. The software is powerful. It can do all kinds of amazing things. Reporting, help you build a better project. If you don't know what the software can do, going back to our exposure conversation, then you're not going to be able to get all the advantage out of it. Show you what the software can do, and then show you really the sky's the limit on what you can do with the software now that you understand some of those functions.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I would encourage anybody out there that is considering training their employees and making that investment to ask for either the agenda of the training manual, the experience of the teachers, and make sure that what you're paying for, somebody could walk away from that class and they have something in their hands that they can use to go to their job site and immediately start to implement the things that are going to help them build a better project, be a better project manager, be a better project scheduler. Something that I've kind of noticed in this industry is there's a lot of people that do training and there's a lot of price differences. And you really do get what you pay for when it comes to this kind of training. You may see a 3-day class it's only $500 and then CBA's over here charging $1,600 and why? Quality of content, quantity of content,
activity,
quality of the teachers and the trainers. Those are all things that you as a decision maker within your company, when you're looking for a training, need to evaluate and really think about before you hire the cheapest option. And the other thing that I think folds into this nicely. Yes, there's online training, there's virtual training, and then in-person training. What you think about the online do-it-yourself kind of training versus the virtual or remote student that attends the class, and then in-person training, and where you think the level of benefit and return is.
So first of all, let's go with the first one, which is a online, not hosted training. And essentially, we've all used YouTube University. I use it. If I'm looking at how to figure out how to fix this pipe or this leak, that's my first place I go to. And it's great. I love YouTube University. I'm always looking there. But for complicated concepts like a project management software that's as big and powerful as P6 or OPC, it doesn't cut it. So your real two options, in my opinion, for training are going to be really a hosted training by someone like myself, and then that breaks up into two categories. The first being a remote session, where during COVID we switched almost completely over to our remote training sessions, where I host a training. The students will see me, see the actual screen of my software while they're attending via Teams meeting or whatever the remote session is going to be. And that is still just like our in-person training. It is hosted, it's interactive. I'm calling on the students, it's back and forth. So that remote training class has become much more powerful and useful than it was, say, 10 years ago. I still prefer the in-person. I can see the student's eyes. I can see when they have that confused look on their face and they won't raise their hand. I can call them out on it. And then there's just something about being interactive, especially if it's a private class where we're doing a customized training class for your company at your job site with your people in the same room. Because oftentimes what that enables us to do is not only am I showing you how to use the software and what buttons to push, but we have these inner conversations between the employees on this is how I did on my project, this is how I do it on my project. And I really like that. That's half the reason we do these private classes is not just to show you the software, but how we're going to use it at Company X and have those inter-class conversations between the students.
Well, and what I find from attending the classes that you teach and that Cam teaches is the in-person interaction like you're discussing provides the best environment to really discuss best practices.
Mm-hmm.
And where do best practices come from? At CBA, we teach the best practices that are set out as a standard by all the professional organizations, the Government Authority Office, the DCMA. So we make sure that all those best practices and what the industry standard is already built into our curriculum. Could you explain how you customize our training for our clients?
Absolutely. There's a couple I guess levels. At the most base level is a client wants us to come out to their site and do a custom training class. We have currently a standard 3-day basic class and a 2-day advanced class. At the most base level for our custom classes, they will take a look at that outline for both of those books, those training manuals, and they'll just cut out what they don't want to do. Maybe turn this into a 3-day, a little bit of basic and a little bit advanced based upon the topics that are important to them. So it's pretty much our standard out-of-the-box training, but we're just cutting out certain lessons. All the way up through the other end of the spectrum is we sit down, we understand what their current process is, whatever software they're using, even if it's P6, but just not using it enough, and come up with not only, how we build projects, but how we build projects in P6. And we will create a training manual all the way up from the very beginning of a project, all the way through building, updating, and reporting on that project specific to that company. So, and anything really in between. We've gone in and used our books, but their processes or their project. So essentially, anything that you need as far as a P6 or OPC goes, we can create a training curriculum around that to meet your needs, whether it's just standing out of the box, all the way up to a fully customized, even a manual that you now own as an electronic copy that you can reproduce, you can modify to your heart's content as your company moves through changes for the processes.
If the type of training that we just discussed is something that you're interested in, if you've heard some pain points that you feel like we could help you solve, give us a call and we'll set up a consultation.